Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. Back in April, when the Miami Dolphins made it clear they were looking to trade star cornerback Jalen Ramsey, the move was initially seen through a financial lens. With salary cap implications in mind, it made perfect sense to delay any trade discussions until after June 1st. That date has long passed 17 days ago, to be exact, and yet Jalen Ramsey is still wearing aqua and orange. It's becoming increasingly clear that this isn't just about money anymore. It's about leverage, timing, and perhaps even damage control. Ramsey, once seen as a crucial part of the Dolphins' defensive identity, now finds himself in a strange limbo. The team has already shown its hand. The relationship is over, but if that's the case, why hasn't a deal been done yet? The only team firmly connected to Ramsey at this point, the Los Angeles Rams, his former team. That's it. No bidding war, no heated speculation from insiders about surprise suitors, no midnight reports about a last-minute mystery team jumping in. Just the Rams. Coach Sean McVay even acknowledged that while there is interest, some obstacles still stand in the way. That's the diplomatic way of saying the numbers aren't working. The Dolphins want more than the Rams are offering, or both. The fact that there's only one team in the picture severely limits Miami's ability to drive up the price. In the NFL, it takes two teams to make a trade, but it takes three or more to make a good one. Right now, Miami's stuck waiting for the phone to ring, and maybe that's the strategy. Wait it out. Let the offseason drag on. Let training camp inch closer. Eventually, the thinking goes, something will give. Maybe another team will suffer a key injury in the secondary. Maybe a playoff contender will start feeling the pressure and decide that adding Ramsey is worth the financial gamble. Maybe someone gets desperate. The problem with that line of thinking is that it turns the Dolphins into spectators of their own situation. They don't control the timing. They don't control the need. They're hoping the market comes to them, instead of the other way around. That's a risky place to be, especially when everyone knows you're trying to offload an expensive player. The idea of Ramsey showing up to training camp, that's where things could get really messy. It's hard to imagine the Dolphins wanting him there not because of his ability, but because of the optics. Having a disgruntled player who knows he's not wanted showing up every day in pads creates a distraction. It sends mixed signals to the locker room. It fuels media speculation. But here's the kicker. If Ramsey wants to show up, the Dolphins can't stop him. That's part of the problem when you publicly signal you're done with a player. Before a deal is in place, you lose control of the narrative and potentially the locker room. Suddenly, this quiet part of the offseason gets a whole lot louder. And what happens if we roll into September and no trade has happened? The regular season kicks off, and Jalen Ramsey is still technically on the roster. Do the Dolphins pay him to stay home? That sounds insane until you remember the 2021 Deshaun Watson situation. The Texans, embroiled in a mess of their own making, kept Watson on the payroll and off the field for an entire season before finally shipping him to the Browns. In hindsight, it was a strategic decision. They waited for the perfect storm and were rewarded with a king's ransom. The Dolphins, however, aren't in that kind of position. Ramsey's value, while still solid, isn't in the same galaxy as Watson's was back then. If the Dolphins were to take a similar approach, it would be a lot more expensive. Watson was paid $10 million in 2021 to essentially do nothing. Ramsey, he's owed more than double that, and unlike Watson, whose off-field issues complicated any trade, Ramsey doesn't bring that kind of baggage. His issue is simply contractual and positional. Teams just aren't lining up to spend big money on a cornerback nearing 30, especially one who's already made it clear he's not staying. The Dolphins won't be getting a massive return. They might not even get a starter in exchange. That's why every week Ramsey stays on the roster. The pressure builds on Miami's front office. The longer this goes, the more it becomes apparent that something needs to break before a deal happens. And unfortunately for the Dolphins, that something might be an injury somewhere else in the league. It's a harsh reality of the NFL. Sometimes opportunities only open up when other teams lose a key player. That's when the phone starts ringing. That's when general managers start thinking about taking on contracts they wouldn't normally consider. That might be the Dolphins' best shot at moving Ramsey without eating a huge chunk of his salary. Until then, Miami might be stuck paying Ramsey week to week just to sit on the sidelines. There's another element to all this that's worth considering. How does Ramsey feel about all of it? Publicly, he's kept relatively quiet, but we've Seen what happens when star players feel disrespected if he starts talking, tweeting, or posting cryptic Instagram messages. Things could escalate quickly. The Dolphins might find themselves dealing with more than just a cap issue. They could have a full-blown PR nightmare on their hands for now. Ramsey seems to be playing it cool, but that patience could run out at any moment, and once that genie's out of the bottle, it's hard to put it back in. So where does this leave the Dolphins? In short, cornered. They've made it clear they want to move on. The market hasn't responded the way they hoped. The only real option in play is the Rams. And even that's hit a wall. Waiting is costly. Acting now might mean accepting less. There's no perfect outcome here, only a series of imperfect choices, and as training camp looms, those choices become more urgent. The Dolphins need clarity, Ramsey needs resolution, and fans, they're just waiting for anyone to make a move that ends this awkward standoff once and for all. In the end, this saga might become a cautionary tale for front offices around the league. If you want to move on from a star player, do it quietly, keep the door open. Don't show your hand unless you've got options lined up. The Dolphins misplayed this from the start, and now they're paying the price literally and figuratively. Ramsey's fate is tied to timing, leverage, and the unpredictability of football. And until something shifts, an injury, a sudden trade market, or a moment of desperation, we're all just waiting, watching, and wondering, when will the Dolphins finally trade Jalen Ramsey? Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments, what's your take on the Fins this week? Alright, folks, buckle up because there's a juicy rumor swirling around the NFL world that's got fans buzzing like never before. Word from a source close to the Miami Dolphins hints at a potential blockbuster trade that could shake up the league in a massive way. According to this insider, the Dolphins are eyeing a three-way deal involving none other than the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. The centerpiece, Micah Parsons, the star linebacker whose name has been lighting up trade rumors for months. The idea that Parsons could be on the move is already enough to set the rumor mill on fire. But it gets even more intriguing. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The Packers, who've been somewhat quiet this offseason, are reportedly dangling Jordan Love as part of this potential deal. Love, the young quarterback with untapped potential, has been in the spotlight, but hasn't quite solidified his role as a franchise leader in Green Bay. If the Dolphins manage to get their hands on Love, it could signal a serious shake-up at the quarterback position in Miami, where the team has been hunting for consistency and star power to elevate their offense. The Dolphins are said to be inching closer to finalizing this trade, which could become one of the most talked about moves of the offseason. Imagine the implications. Miami would land Micah Parsons, arguably one of the best defensive playmakers in the league, adding a fierce edge to their defense. In exchange, they'd send key pieces to Dallas and potentially acquire Love from Green Bay. This three-way swap could rewrite the rosters and strategies of all three teams in ways that ripple through the NFL for years to come. Dallas fans are holding their breath at the thought of losing Parsons, who's been a cornerstone of their defense and a player many see as the face of their franchise moving forward. However, the Cowboys might be tempted by what Miami and Green Bay are offering in return, pieces that could help them fill multiple holes and build around their remaining core. Whether it's draft picks, young talent, or established veterans, the compensation must be significant enough to make Dallas consider parting ways with one of the best defensive players in the game. For Green Bay, the potential acquisition of new draft capital or other players could be a strategic move to bolster the team's roster depth. Plus, sending Jordan Love to Miami could offer him a fresh start and a clearer path to becoming a full-time starter. The Packers have been in a quarterback conundrum since the Rodgers era began winding down, and this trade could represent a pivot toward a new era. While also shaking up their depth chart and future planning, Miami's front office has been under pressure to make a splash, and landing a player of Parsons' caliber would be a statement move. Adding a dynamic linebacker who can impact the game in multiple ways, rushing the passer, covering tight ends, and making tackles all over the field, would instantly upgrade their defense and send a message to the rest of the league. Coupled with the possible addition of Love, the Dolphins could be setting themselves up for a major offensive and defensive overhaul. The timing of this rumor also fits the current NFL climate, where teams are willing to take big risks to accelerate their rebuilds or push for championship contention. With the salary cap crunch and the importance of versatile playmakers, A three-way deal like this might be exactly what these teams need to balance their rosters and address glaring needs. It's a high-stakes chess game, and Miami, Dallas, and Green Bay seem poised to make some bold moves. Of course, nothing is official yet, and trades of this magnitude always come with plenty of hurdles, from player approvals to financial considerations and draft pick negotiations. But the chatter from sources close to the Dolphins suggests that talks are heating up and could culminate in an agreement sooner rather than later. Fans across all three fan bases should keep their eyes peeled because this could be the NFL's next blockbuster trade. In the end, if this deal does go through, it could rewrite the narratives for the Dolphins, Cowboys, and Packers alike. Miami would potentially emerge as a defensive powerhouse with fresh quarterback options. Dallas might gain valuable assets to rebuild around their new core. And Green Bay could reset their quarterback plans with a clearer focus as this rumor develops. One thing is certain, the NFL offseason just got a whole lot more exciting. Keep watching this space because the next few weeks could bring some major shakeups. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!